Imagine the world before streetlights, before cities, before the word home meant anything at all. The sun has just disappeared beyond the horizon of the African savanna. At the center of a circle of ancient figures, a fire crackles and dances. You can almost smell it. The smoky scent of burning wood blends with something richer and more tempting, something sizzling over the flames. Around the fire, a group of early humans, not so different from you, waits patiently. They watch the glowing embers. They exchange quiet glances in the darkness. Someone nudges the coals with a stick, revealing a piece of meat or perhaps a roasted root that crackles and splits open as the heat works its magic. In that moment, everything else fades away. There is hunger, of course, but there is something more, a feeling that tonight will be different from every night before, that whatever they are about to eat will change not only their bodies, but their minds too, setting humanity on a path that will never be the same. Now, pause that scene for a moment. Have you ever wondered why you head to the kitchen when you're feeling stressed or lonely? Or why at almost every gathering, people naturally end up around the food? The simple act of preparing and sharing a meal, whether it's roasting, boiling, or baking, is nearly universal. It has a strange kind of magic. But where did it all begin? And even more remarkably, how did humans go from chewing raw plants and meat to mastering fire and transforming food, gaining an evolutionary advantage unlike any other species? This isn't just the story of what's for dinner. It's the story of how cooking, arguably humanity's greatest invention, reshaped our biology, fueled the growth of our brains, and helped us turn into storytellers, builders, innovators, and dreamers. If you've ever wondered why a hot meal feels like home, or why sharing food brings people together, you're about to discover the answer. This isn't a recipe. It's the story of how we became human. And trust me, you'll never look at dinner the same way again. Before the crackle of fire, before smoke drifted through the evening air, life for our ancient ancestors was an endless struggle, a test of strength, endurance, and survival. Imagine waking up each day in a world that was completely wild. Hunger was your alarm clock. Your menu was brutally simple. Whatever you could gather, dig up, tear apart, or hunt. Breakfast might be raw, fibrous roots pulled from the ground. Lunch could be sour, sometimes poisonous berries. Dinner might be tough strips of raw meat ripped from a fresh kill, cold, chewy, and incredibly difficult to eat and digest. In this harsh world, eating was hard work. Early humans spent nearly half of their waking hours searching for food and chewing it. They gnawed through raw roots, leaves, and tough meat. Their jaws were larger, their teeth were thicker, and their digestive systems were built to squeeze every possible calorie from coarse, fibrous foods. Even then, the reward was limited. Calories were scarce, nutrients were difficult to absorb, and survival depended on finding the next meal, sometimes within the next few hours. Fast forward to today, and scientists have unintentionally recreated part of that ancient lifestyle. Studies of people who eat only raw foods, including uncooked plants and animal products, have revealed something surprising. Even with supermarkets, kitchen appliances, and endless food choices, it's extremely difficult for a completely raw diet to provide enough energy for a healthy adult. Many people lose weight quickly, struggle to maintain muscle mass, and in severe cases, even experience reproductive problems. If it's that difficult today, imagine how much harder it was for our prehistoric ancestors. But the challenge wasn't just about calories. Eating raw food required endless chewing, leaving very little time or energy for anything else. Building social relationships was difficult when you spent so much of your day eating. Creativity, language, and art all require a well-fed brain, something early humans simply couldn't support on a diet of raw roots and uncooked meat alone. Yet this difficult way of life also set the stage for one of the greatest turning points in human history. In the middle of nature's relentless struggle for survival, a single discovery was about to change everything. The age of endless chewing was about to meet its greatest rival, a force that would illuminate the night and transform the human mind forever. There are moments in history so important that they divide time into two parts, before and after. The discovery and control of fire is one of those moments. But unlike the dramatic stories told in myths, this wasn't a single night of sudden inspiration. It was a slow and cautious process, a long relationship with one of nature's most dangerous forces that unfolded over tens of thousands of years. To our distant ancestors, fire was both terrifying and extraordinary. Lightning strikes could set the grasslands ablaze, turning the dry savanna into a wall of heat and smoke. Animals fled in panic, and humans did the same if they noticed the smoke in time. But after the flames burned out, something remarkable remained. Burned plants became softer and easier to chew. Roasted animal remains were easier to eat. The landscape itself had changed. At some point, a curious, hungry, or unusually brave individual picked up a charred piece of food and discovered that heat could transform both its texture and its flavor. Learning to control fire, however, was an entirely different challenge. Archaeologists continue to study ancient sites like Wonderwork Cave in South Africa, where 1,000,000-year-old sediments contain evidence suggesting that early humans may have kept fires burning deep inside the cave, far from natural wildfires. Hidden within those layers are tiny pieces of burned plants, heat-cracked animal bones, and soil reddened by repeated exposure to fire, all possible signs that people were intentionally maintaining flames. Whether this represents true mastery of fire or simply the careful preservation of naturally occurring flames is still debated. The oldest clearly recognized hearths, where stones were arranged to contain and protect a fire and smoke stained the ceilings above, date back to around 400,000 years ago. For countless generations before that, humans may have relied on fire borrowed from nature, protecting glowing embers until they faded, treating them like one of their most valuable possessions. Fire has always carried two powerful emotions at once. It brings warmth, safety, and comfort, but it also reminds us of burns, destruction, and the terrifying force of an uncontrolled wildfire. Even today, the sound of crackling flames can make us feel both relaxed and uneasy at the same time. As humans slowly shifted from fearing fire to controlling it, from shivering in darkness to gathering around its light, something even more remarkable began to happen. Food that once required hours of chewing became tender in minutes. Dangerous predators stayed away from the glowing firelight. The day no longer ended when the sun disappeared, giving people valuable hours to socialize, work, and think after dark. But did fire do more than warm our bodies and cook our food? Could this extraordinary discovery have reshaped the human brain itself, laying the foundation for greater intelligence, creativity, and culture? The true legacy of fire may be even more remarkable than the flames themselves. Its greatest impact was only beginning, and the real revolution started the moment humans first began cooking their food.
When our ancestors roasted their first raw root over a fire, they did more than improve its taste. They changed the course of human evolution. This is the foundation of anthropologist Richard Wrangham's bold hypothesis. Cooking wasn't just a way to prepare food, it was one of the greatest evolutionary breakthroughs, the hidden force that helped build the human brain and set our species apart from every other animal on Earth. Here's the science. Raw foods, whether meat or plants, are difficult to digest. Tough cell walls, dense proteins, and complex starches resist the work of our stomach acids and digestive enzymes. When a chimpanzee chews through a wild root, much of the available energy is never fully absorbed. It simply passes through the body. That limits everything: the calories available for survival, the energy needed for a larger brain, and the time that can be spent on anything else than finding and eating food. Then came fire. According to Wrangham, cooking acts as a form of pre-digestion. Heat breaks down tough plant fibers, unfolds proteins, and softens starches, making food much easier for the body to process. The results are remarkable. Studies show that cooked meat can provide up to 30% more usable calories, while cooked roots and grains may deliver 2 to 3 times more available energy than when eaten raw. Picture one of our ancient ancestors slowly turning a root over the fire. It seems like a simple act, but inside the body, it starts a biochemical revolution. Suddenly, that same piece of food delivers far more energy in much less time, Meals that once required hours of chewing become quick and efficient, leaving more time for conversation, exploration, creativity, and rest. Cooking wasn't just a convenience, it transformed the human body. Modern research supports this idea. When chimpanzees are offered both raw and cooked food, they consistently choose the cooked version. Humans who follow completely raw food diets, even with access to a wide variety of fruits, vegetables, and nuts, often struggle to consume enough calories. Many lose weight, experience muscle loss, and in some cases, women stop menstruating. Our bodies have become so well adapted to cooked food that living entirely on raw food is physically challenging. The fossil record tells a similar story. Around 1.8 million years ago, Homo erectus, one of our direct ancestors, developed smaller teeth, smaller digestive systems, and significantly larger brains. Scientists believe these changes cannot be explained by hunting tools or meat consumption alone. Cooking is one of the strongest explanations. As digestion became easier and more efficient, evolution could redirect energy away from maintaining large jaws and guts and toward growing a bigger, more powerful brain. In that sense, cooking became the engine that fueled human evolution. It helped us transform from creatures focused almost entirely on finding the next meal into beings capable of planning, imagining, remembering, and dreaming. But the impact of cooking didn't stop with larger brains. Its greatest influence reached beyond our bodies. It changed the way we gathered, communicated, and built relationships, creating a new kind of social life unlike anything the animal world had ever seen. If you could travel back in time and look inside the mind of one of our early ancestors after their first cooked meal, you wouldn't just see someone enjoying a satisfying dinner. You'd witness a quiet revolution taking place. That roasted root or piece of meat wasn't simply easier to eat, it was powerful fuel for the brain. This was the moment evolution shifted quietly into a higher gear, turning something ordinary into something extraordinary. Here's why. Once cooking made food easier to digest and far more energy-rich, our ancestors no longer had to spend countless hours chewing tough, raw foods just to survive. The body suddenly had extra energy to invest in one of its most expensive organs, the brain. That evolutionary investment paid off. The human brain grew larger than that of any other primate, developing more neurons and stronger neural connections, the biological foundation of memory, learning, emotion, and complex thought. But a bigger brain meant far more than improved hunting or better tools. Modern neuroscience shows that language itself is incredibly energy-intensive. Speaking, understanding speech, telling stories, sharing ideas, and even making jokes all require enormous amounts of brain power. The modern human brain, with its large and highly folded cerebral cortex, was made possible by this increase in available energy. Some researchers even suggest that the first meaningful conversations may have happened around campfires, where people gathered to share not just food, but also knowledge. Who found the best hunting grounds, where edible plants could be found, and what dangers lay beyond the firelight. Cooking may have also produced unexpected side effects. As our jaws and teeth became smaller because they no longer had to process tough raw foods, our mouths became better suited for producing a wider range of sounds. That may have helped pave the way for clearer speech, richer communication, and eventually songs, stories, and humor. Smarter minds created stronger friendships, more complex social relationships, and the rich networks of cooperation that define humanity today. Our emotions changed as well. Sharing food isn't just enjoyable, it's deeply rewarding for the brain. When people eat together, the body releases oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone. Around ancient campfires, early humans weren't just feeding their bodies, they were strengthening trust, empathy, and the social bonds that helped communities survive. Those same instincts are still with us today, whether it's a family dinner on Sunday or friends gathering around pizza late at night. In many ways, cooking became humanity's first self-improvement program. It gave us the energy to imagine the future, remember the past, prepare for changing seasons, and understand the thoughts and feelings of others. But this transformation wasn't only about individuals, it changed entire communities. Cooking created a new way of living together, where survival depended on cooperation, sharing, and mutual responsibility. Around the warmth of a shared fire and a shared meal, the foundations of culture, connection, and eventually civilization itself began to take shape. Picture this: a smoldering fire at dusk, embers glowing as the last light slips away, and a circle of people gathering not just for warmth, but for something deeper, a meal they've prepared together. This scene, older than writing, art, or even music, is where humanity truly comes alive. Because for us, food is never just fuel. It's how we build trust, form alliances, and shape the rules of who we are together. The simple question, "What's for dinner?" has always been about more than taste. When cooking entered our ancestors' lives, it quietly rewrote social destiny. Suddenly, cooking preparation became a collective effort. Someone tended the fire, someone fetched water, and others gathered or hunted. In most forager cultures, the process was guided by unspoken but powerful social rules, sometimes shared equally, often divided by age, skill, or gender. One early result, the seeds of a division of labor, one of civilization's most essential blueprints. Take the Hadza of Tanzania, one of the last hunter-gatherer societies on Earth, whose meal rituals echo ancient times. Around their fires, women often roast tubers and roots, the staples of the diet, while men discuss their hunting exploits, teasing and boasting, rituals that are just as much about building relationships as dividing food. There, sharing is survival. A hunter who hoards the spoils is seen as untrustworthy, while a cook who feeds many becomes beloved. Their customs are reinforced nightly through laughter, gossip, and the rhythm of breaking bread, so to speak, beneath the stars. But it's not just survival that's at stake. Cooking together created opportunities for innovation and generosity, for courtship and storytelling, and for passing down secrets and recipes. In prehistoric Europe, archaeological sites reveal broad, shallow pits where communities pooled their food, giant stews of meat, grain, and wild plants bubbling over communal fires. These weren't just about calories, they were prehistoric potlucks, social glue that bound people across generations. Fast forward to your own life and notice how little things have changed. When was the last time you truly connected with someone over a spreadsheet or a shopping list? Probably never. But invite a friend over for dinner, team up for a barbecue, or huddle over soup on a rainy night and watch ordinary bonds deepen. Apartments feel warmer. Road trips revolve around snacks. Even awkward first dates become easier when your hands are busy making something, even if it's just pancakes from a box. The magic of sharing meals is as much about the process as the outcome. Cooking together takes coordination, negotiation, and even playful competition. Who chops the onions the fastest? Who perfects the marinade? Who sneaks the first taste? These are rehearsals for all the social skills that define us: empathy, humor, patience, and compromise. The kitchen becomes a stage for practicing what it means to belong. Contrast this with the experience of eating alone. Science tells us time and time again that solo meals simply don't offer the same emotional or psychological benefits. Studies on modern urban life find that people who eat alone
night after night report higher rates of loneliness, anxiety, and even depression. Our bodies recognize those empty tables, even in a room full of glowing screens. Meanwhile, throughout history, feasts have marked everything worth remembering: births, harvests, victories, and peace treaties. The act of coming together, breaking bread, and sharing flavors is woven into the fabric of every culture, from Lunar New Year banquets in China to Thanksgiving in America. Why does it matter? Because the architecture of our minds, built over millennia of shared mealtimes, still craves this connection. At our core, we are communal cooks and eaters, rehearsing ancient rituals in our ultra-modern kitchens, lunchrooms, and cafes. So the next time you sit down to a meal with others, remember, You're taking part in the original human magic trick, turning hunger into hospitality, fire into friendship, and food into the foundation of almost everything we hold dear. But what happens when that magic takes root and grows even deeper? When the hearth isn't just a place for dinner, but becomes the beating heart of culture, community, and even civilization itself? That's where our story heads next.
Firelight did far more than cook food. It transformed human life. Cooking made meals safer and easier to digest, allowing children to grow, learn, and build stronger family bonds. Around the hearth, homes, traditions, and culture began to take shape. People experimented with food, creating early forms of bread and beer, while shared meals evolved into rituals and celebrations. The search for better ingredients eventually led to agriculture, turning cooks into the world's first farmers. Even today, cooking shapes our memories, relationships, and sense of comfort. Yet, as modern life changes the way we prepare food, it raises an important question: what are we losing by leaving the hearth behind? The kitchen is more than just a place to cook. It is deeply connected to memory, emotion, and identity. The smell of a familiar meal can instantly bring back childhood memories because the brain closely links scent with memory and emotion. Cooking also helps reduce stress by providing routine, creativity, and comfort, much like the ancient campfire once offered safety. Today, fast food, meal kits, and social media have changed our relationship with cooking, often replacing connection with convenience. Yet every meal still fulfills the same human need for comfort, belonging, and meaning. But what happens when those traditions and memories begin to disappear? Cooking was once a basic life skill passed down from generation to generation, but today many people rely on fast food and processed meals instead. This shift has led to declining cooking skills, poorer health, and fewer opportunities for family connection. Research shows that people who cook and eat together enjoy better physical health, stronger relationships, and greater happiness. As family meals disappear, we risk losing traditions, creativity, and our sense of belonging. Cooking has always been about more than food. It brings people together and preserves culture. The good news is that the kitchen still holds that power if we choose to return to it. Cooking has shaped humanity from the first controlled fire to the modern kitchen. It helped our brains grow, built families, inspired culture, and brought people together. Even today, sharing a meal creates connection, strengthens relationships, and keeps traditions alive. In a fast-paced world, cooking remains a powerful act of creativity, care, and belonging. Every meal we prepare continues a story that began thousands of years ago around a campfire. So the next time you cook, remember that you're doing more than just making food. You're keeping one of humanity's oldest and greatest traditions alive, one meal at a time.